Thank you to the sponsor for this video, Keen. Visit trykeen.com/Nadiya to get your first 10 minutes for only $1.99 with one of their trusted advisors. I too had a chance to try Keen when I was approached to have them as a sponsor. I loved my reading, and I only recommend services I trust. Visit trykeen.com/Nadiya to get your first 10 minutes for only $1.99. Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of March 13, 2022. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. It is a remarkable astrological week, without a doubt. Big moves happening in the sky now, an abundance of energy concentrated in the sign of Pisces. Well, that trend is certainly going to continue through this week and will be a dominant energy as we navigate through March and April as well. And this week in particular, on Friday, we're going to have a full moon in the sign of the Earth goddess Virgo, speaking in supreme harmony with Pluto, adding intensity. And of course, full moons tend to get a lot of glitz and glamour and glory. So I'll be sure to speak about that as well. But for this video, I actually wanted to start the video by talking about another celestial meeting in the sky that is taking place on Monday, that I think may not get as much attention, but actually is tremendously important and may end up being one of the more important energies for many of us out there. And this is the meeting of two asteroids, Chiron and Pallas Athena, in the sign of Aries. Now, Chiron in particular, moving through the sign of Aries, well, we have had this energy since 2018 and will continue to have this energy right to the middle of 2020. I did explore the symbolism at length in its own Chiron special horoscope, and I'll be sure to link to that below. But let me tell you a little bit about Chiron and the origin myth of Chiron and understanding the origin myth of Athena and how these two asteroids connecting, it represents very powerful turning points for many of us out there, the kind that will certainly make an impression. Now, Chiron in ancient Greek mythology was, or you may think is, a centaur. And he was considered the teacher to the gods. He taught philosophy and he taught mathematics and astronomy and so much more. Well, the story goes that it was Mars, also known as Aries, and in some cases, depending on the region, some regions of ancient Greece actually conceptualized this as Hercules being the one. But what we know in the mythologies is Mars was very impulsive. He was rather reckless and loved to follow his outbursts and see where it is that they would take them. And one moment, there was a time when Mars was sort of shooting arrows all willy-nilly around in the celestial sphere. And one of these arrows hit Chiron in the thigh, very much by accident. And Chiron was immediately in immense pain. And he was in so much pain for such a long time that finally the gods took pity on him and turned him into a constellation. I find the symbolism of the story very powerful, partly because Chiron speaks to the wounded healer. He was a healer himself. He taught medicine as well. And Chiron, astrologically, has become a symbol of where it is in our own chart. If you look at where your natal Chiron is, based on house, based on sign, where it is that we may feel that we are carrying wounds of our own, that we might feel never healed, that is part of what has us feeling vulnerable to pain. But the thing that's often overlooked in Chiron's story is that Chiron eventually, by moving through his pain and through grace and through compassion, became immortal. And so I actually see Chiron as the place in the chart and the symbolism of where it is that you may feel there's wounding, but you also know that that is where your healing is. It's almost like you have to pay attention. You have to do something with that area of life as represented by the house in your natal chart. You have to cultivate the energy as represented by the sign of your natal Chiron if you are going to move past what might feel, especially in early life, that you can't move past. But also, I feel like Chiron is our understanding of the things that make us immortal, the qualities based on sign that facilitate our own immortality, the thing that lasts beyond our lifetime. It is the house that your natal Chiron is in that can speak to an area of life where you make such an impact that it lasts beyond just your lifetime, or this lifetime rather. And in this way, Chiron can be decidedly consequential. It points to healing that we are compelled towards, and that healing can take different forms. It can sometimes show up physically in the ways in which we may manifest emotions, but ultimately, by working through them, we align with those qualities, those attributes, the ways in which we impact others that stay well beyond this lifetime. And so that's Chiron. Understanding his origin myth often is focused on the actual wounding and the pain that he experienced. However, I like to focus on the immortality that he was able to reach as a result of a mix of trust and faith and moving through the pain and also grace. Now, let's look at Pallas Athena, named after the goddess Athena. Athena was perhaps the most important goddess in ancient Greece. She is whom the city of Athens is named after. And Athena has a very interesting origin story in and of herself. So basically, her father is Jupiter, also known as Zeus. And Zeus liked to get around. He, over the course of his life, had a lot of different wives and lovers, had many, many, many children. And so he was married to Metis, and Metis was an oracle, a prophetess, if you will, kind of always telling him the future and what was going to happen. And so he received a divine prophecy that said that Metis right now is pregnant. She's about to have a baby. And if Metis gives birth to this baby could end up taking over Zeus as the highest and greatest of gods. Well, Zeus didn't like that too much, / Jupiter didn't like that too much. And so he ate Metis. And as he consumed her and kept her inside of himself, she kept talking to him. She kept giving him prophecies. She kept telling him what was going to happen. And he was giving her a splitting headache. He really did not like this at all. He was talking to her inside and telling her to be quiet. She wasn't going to do that. And so finally, he gets such a headache. He just can't take it anymore. He goes to Hephaestus and he says, "Help me out here." And Hephaestus takes an axe and splits open the head of Jupiter. And from his split open head, out pops a fully grown Athena. And this is the origin story of Athena and how we know her. And so right away, she pops out, fully grown adult. And she comes from the head, the mind of Zeus. And this becomes powerful symbolism for somebody who comes to symbolize not necessarily acting out of impulse, but rather raising one's vibration. She's a symbol of strategy. She's a symbol of wisdom. And because she came out fully grown and displayed such wisdom and cunning and the ability to understand various sides of an issue before acting, the ability to be strategic in all kinds of ways, whether it was in games and competitions. We see her, she loved a good competition in one way or another. She was always competing with the other gods, trying to win little games with them. For example, the city of Athens, who was going to be named after the city? Well, it was a competition. It was based on a competition between Neptune and Athena. Neptune gave water Athena gave the olive tree, and so it was decided that the olive tree was more important to the city than the water, and so the city was named after Athena. These types of competitions she really liked to get into. But of course, in war as well, she could be very strategic. And because she is often depicted as a virgin, which is essentially somebody not ruled by the lower chakras, right? Not ruled by impulse or desire, but having that ability to think things through and act from a space of making a conscious choice, she became associated with wisdom. And to me, I see her as a symbol of wisdom in the chart. If you want to look at your own chart, your natal chart, and look at where your Pallas Athena might be, well, that's going to point the way to an area of life where you demonstrate wisdom. You demonstrate a higher understanding, if you will. Now, based on the sign of your Pallas Athena, you may also garner the opportunity to cultivate the energy of that sign as part of your journey towards greater wisdom, as part of your understanding of the higher meaning of so many different areas of life. If you cultivate the sign qualities of your Athena, you're able to then bring a spirit of wisdom to the entire chart and to all the different areas of life. And so imagine now these two getting together in the sign of Aries. The energy of your first breath, the energy of your impulse, the energy of self, the energy of trusting the spark of life within you and what it is that you feel connects you with an energy of specialness. Fire in general, when we see fire in a chart, that represents where and how this person may feel that they're able to bring forward qualities of themselves that they feel are special. All of us right now are in a collective journey, especially with Chiron moving through the sign of Aries right to the middle of the decade, inviting us to look at what it is that lights us up and how it is by trusting the spark of life, the thing within us that we feel is fun for us, that we feel is part of our recognition of our own specialness. Well, how trusting it actually can be a profoundly healing experience. That's part of a journey that all of us are on right now, collectively speaking. If you were born with Chiron in the sign of Aries, this is a part of your journey in this lifetime. Well, what does it look like if we take the things that have wounded us in the past, the ways in which we have carried those wounds, the ways in which we might have felt that those wounds would never heal, emotional, spiritual, or otherwise, and we now are able to see them with eyes of wisdom? It transforms the wounds themselves when we're able to see the wisdom within it. All things have wisdom, all things. I'll give you one example. Smoking cigarettes, okay? Very common thing for lots of people to navigate through the journey of smoking cigarettes or being addicted to cigarettes. The thing is that when a person focuses on using willpower to quit, that is not nearly as effective as addressing the deeper wisdom playing out to why a person would be smoking. So, one of the most common reasons that people smoke is a way to self-medicate because it is part of balancing brain chemistry. And so, what very often happens when a person takes medication to balance brain chemistry, they lose the desire to quit smoking. That is a very powerful understanding of how there was wisdom to the habit of smoking cigarettes. Now, of course, there are other ways to look at that habit of smoking cigarettes as well, in terms of whatever ritualistic stability or comfort it provided, what spiritual functions it might have been serving, and so on. Right? That is about people who may be on that journey, which is a huge percentage of people out there. But we do know that, and studies have shown this, that when you address the underlying need for the cigarettes, very often the desire to smoke, whether that's biologically, whether you're looking at it emotionally or otherwise, it lessens or it leaves. You replace the ritual with something else so that the ritualistic aspect is addressed. Whatever emotional or spiritual function, if you find ways to channel that energy or replace it with something else, the desire for smoking lessens. And so people are able to find their way forward. There's no one answer for anything, I think. But our own journey and our personal journey towards healing may be uniquely our own, but there are some ways in which we can relate to and understand others. And when it is that we're willing to see ourselves and whatever our journey has been with wisdom, then it lifts us out of the pain and starts to move us towards embracing those things that may be part of our immortality. And I think that is part of the promise at this time. That is part of the impetus at this time. As we begin the week, we do have the sun meeting Neptune in the sky and in the sign of Pisces. This is a deeply spiritual energy that we're entering the week with, that we welcome on Sunday. And so all of us may be inclined towards seeing our lives more mystically, more compassionately. We may be inclined in a direction of wanting to connect with deeper meaning and purpose already. Now you add this additional layer, the following day of this exact meeting of the Sun and Neptune, we get empowerment. We move beyond being connected to everyone and everything with the energy of Pisces, and in particular, the Sun meeting Neptune in Pisces. And we move towards a deeper healing that allows us to see the wisdom of everything we've been through, the things that have hurt us. And now we embrace our spark, that thing within us that makes us special. That's going to be uniquely your own. And that journey is going to be uniquely your own as well. All of us have a part within us, within our psyche, that is able to see things from that higher, more wise, more loving perspective that Athena can represent. And all of us have a desire to move beyond what it is that has caused us pain and instead have a positive impact, the kind that lasts beyond our lifetime. Well, whatever that is for you, whatever steps are involved, whatever appreciation you may need to have to understand that you're on that journey, that you're continuing on that journey, well, that may find us and that may find you in the early days of this week, thanks to this divine meeting of Chiron and Athena in the sign of Aries. Now, as we navigate further, we're going to have a full moon, right? And this full moon, as I said, glitz and glamour and glory. Lots of people love a full moon. I'm right there with you. I think moons, and especially a full moon, it's something that we can feel so viscerally. I have seen many, many children of very, very young ages over the years gaze upon the sky, gaze upon a full moon, and you can see how these children feel the energy of that full moon. They feel the energy of the stars at night. But the full moon in particular, it is a very visceral energy. It speaks to our emotional state. And this particular full moon is rather interesting because it's in Virgo, which is an earth sign. And even though Virgo is often associated with a more analytical energy, it's also an earth goddess energy. But again, we're going back to this idea of a virgin goddess because it is Virgo that represents the virgin goddess. And we had Athena, we spoke about earlier. She also represents that idea of not necessarily being ruled by our more instinctual side. Now, our instincts are a gift, don't get me wrong. Instincts are a beautiful thing. They're part of the human experience. And I know everybody, I mean, I can't think of a single person who doesn't feel this way. I'm sure everybody out there feels this way as well. Everybody has had at least one moment in life, if not more, where they feel, they reflect back and they realize their instincts saved them in some way, that their instincts were right on. Now, sometimes we don't want to listen to our instincts. That's part of our journey as well as human beings. Maybe we want what we want, or we're thinking about things very analytically, and we're not necessarily connecting to our instincts as much. Of course, like all things, balance is necessary. But I feel as I look at this that there's this real emphasis this week, on the one hand, of the oblivion of Piscean energy, which is about understanding that you are everyone. And then there's also this invitation to not necessarily be led by the very first thing that we may feel, but rather to allow ourselves to reflect on what life has taught us so that we can make a choice that we feel good about. This full moon is standing opposite Neptune, somewhat. But it is speaking in precision and in supreme harmony with Pluto. Now, that Plutonian energy ends up being the much more dominant energy under the light of this full moon, because it is so much more precisely aligned with the full moon. Pluto trine the full moon. But yet we still have that opposition playing out of Neptune, and that can suggest, as we're moving towards the full moon, especially in the day or hours leading up to it, we may feel some sense of uncertainty, maybe even some disappointment. That might be part of this time. It is that opposition of Neptune that can suggest that much more emotional flux and flow. And yet the energy of Pluto, it's almost the opposite. It is intensely stable. It is solid. It is transformative. It is a profound type of lead that allows us to hone in our energy, that allows us focus. When Pluto is at its best, it represents a depth of focus that is available to us. And it is likely to be under the light of this full moon that we will find person, places, things, situations that invite us to cultivate meaningful focus. Now, it's interesting with this Virgo energy. I had a class earlier this weekend with Synchronicity University, and I was teaching on the astrology of expertise, and we were discussing the importance of Virgo energy and how Virgo energy, sixth house energy, speaks to what you repeatedly do. And whatever it is that you repeatedly do, you become an expert at. Now, this goes back to Malcolm Gladwell and one of the ideas he presents in the book, Outliers. It was a huge bestseller many years ago. And he calls it the 10,000 hour theory, I believe, off the top of my head is what he calls it. And it's basically this notion that whatever you do for 10,000 hours, you are an expert at. And Virgo shows us the way. So if you look at your chart, what house does Virgo rule in your chart? That's going to show you something about where it is that you put a whole lot of time, where you practice, where you may develop mastery in this life. With this full moon in Virgo, what part of your chart is highlighted by this full moon in Virgo? Because this is an opportunity to really hone in your skill, to not just do something repeatedly, but to do it with the intention of getting better and better at it. So much so that through your focus, you're able to find power there, because that's a big part of Pluto as well, power. And so all of us are going to be invited to consider what meaningful focus and meaningful power look like for us. And where it is that by focusing in on what matters to us, focusing in on what's in front of us to do, we might find a depth of appreciation as to what it is that we uniquely do well. And we know we do it well because we've done it so often. We've proven to ourselves that we do it well. Now, other big energies this week, well, it has to do with over the course of Thursday and Friday. Mercury in Pisces will sextile Uranus. The Sun in Pisces on Friday will sextile Pluto. And so all of this is bringing emphasis to the Piscean energy available to us. But look, just looking at Mercury speaking in harmony with Uranus, to me, that's an energy of good news. So all of us, again, in at least one area of life, may find that things feel like they are turning around, that we get some action steps or some insight, or we have a conversation, or yes, we get some news, we finally hear back, and it brings with it a sense of inspiration. It brings with it a sense of positive developments that we can run with in some way. The energy of the Sun and Pluto speaking in harmony in this way, well, it speaks to making the decision to take action to transform our circumstances. There are many astrologers who say that sextiles are more fortunate than trines. So for those of you who may be very new to understanding astrology, there are certain types of aspects that we call easy aspects. They are mainly the sextiles and the trines. Trines are supremely harmonious alignments, and they speak to easy energy, easy blessings. There's not a whole lot you need to do with a trine. Good things have a way of coming together, which is lovely. With a sextile, it's not quite as easy breezy. We're not quite as laid back. It's more like we're granted opportunity, but it's us who has to take the steps. It's us who has to decide that we're going to hustle in some way to align with it, to move towards it. And so here we have this very encouraging energy happening almost simultaneously. With Mercury speaking in harmony, sextile Uranus, we're getting good news. We're having new ideas, new perspectives, and then we're invited to run with what seems like a possibility or an opportunity, and we run with it through our focus, through our cultivation, and through our own motivation. We're able to make great things come about. And in that way, sextiles give us more control than the trines. Sextiles encourage us to instead embrace our own power and to see how utilizing our own power, our inspiration, our own effort can lead to positive and fortunate outcomes. Now, finally, another big news this week happens at the end of the week, and that is Venus squaring Uranus. Venus in hard aspect to Uranus, not the easiest energy, I have to say, especially to end a week on. Look, romantic surprises will not go as planned. It's so interesting. We start the week with this truly dreamy, fantastical, and actually the Sun and Neptune together can be very romantic as well because romance requires fantasy. And so we have this energy there that's supremely romantic and lovely. But then we have energy that says, actually, wake up. Look at things as they actually are, or more starkly. Look at the truth of a situation, very likely related to love. Given that Venus is already in the sign of Aquarius, she's already inviting us to look at love with a sense of healthy detachment, but you add the square to Uranus and the perspectives we gain now, the way in which we see what's happening in love in our own journeys now may really bring surprises into our life that we hadn't anticipated that are at best awkward. This is awkward moments in love. I want to add with Venus squaring Uranus, this is really not the time for tattoos and piercings and cosmetic procedures or new types of hairstyles, new types of hair colors, new types of wardrobes. This is an energy of experimentation that has outcomes that are wildly different than what was planned. And so I would say this is a good time to just relax on that, especially as we start moving later into the week. It's a good idea to just hold back a little bit as we start moving towards that full moon in particular. Just wait a few days, let ourselves be on the other side of this week in order to really start to experiment. I mean, look, as I like to say, if you've been watching me for a while, I've said over the years, it's just hair. So have at it, do what you want to do. However, sometimes, and some things are not just hair. So it's always up to you to decide what's right for you to do in light of your unique circumstances. But these would be the types of activities I would avoid. I would also say that this is the type of energy that says blind dates, not a good idea. Meeting somebody and what you think it is and what it actually is could be very different. And there may be a surprise a minute on that front as well. And so enjoy yourself. Again, do what's right for you in light of your unique circumstances. But if you're connecting with people under Sun conjunct Neptune, which is so dreamy, so fantastical, whom they reveal themselves to be at the end of the week may really take you by surprise. And yet, it's part of the adventure of life, right? It's part of the fun. Realizing how different things can turn out. And look, I'm such an Aquarius. I happen to think that in life, we don't get nearly enough surprises. And Venus square Uranus, that is a surprise a minute. So hold on there. What I love about this week for us, well, look, there's a lot here. It's a powerful and meaningful astrological moment. I absolutely love the energy playing out, especially as we are in the first days of this week. I love the sun meeting Neptune in the sky because it is an energy of hope and faith and meaning and grace. It is an energy of compassion that can be positively healing. Now, you add to this, personally, my favorite energy this week has got to be the meeting of Chiron and Pallas Athena. These two asteroids getting together in the sky is a real opportunity to understand something that I believe so strongly and hold so dear, that whatever it is that has happened to us in our lives, it can in some way be used to move us towards greater love and greater wisdom. And that doesn't mean that whatever happens is okay. Doesn't mean that. It does mean, though, that we can use whatever has been in order to be better moving forward from here. And the appreciation of that is part of what Chiron conjunct Athena is promising us now. It is saying that there's a real opportunity here to embrace what has been, but now to bring wisdom to our journeys so that we get to glimpse a little bit about those things within us that could be part of our immortality, the positive ways in which we may shape the people around us as we move through this lifetime and beyond. Well, thank you so much for watching. What do you love about this week? Let me know in the comments below. I love reading you guys, and to prove it to you, here are some of my most recent favorite comments. Thank you to everybody who likes, who comments, who subscribes, who shares, who thumbs up, who hits the notification bell, all of it. It means so much. Thank you. And of course, if you want to know how all this wonderful energy I spoke of this week speaks to you and your sign, log on now to NadiyaShahSuperstars.com, where you get expanded, exclusive video scopes each and every week for each and every sign for as low as just $3 a month with choose your membership rate. Now, higher tiers get you things like all access passes to Synchronicity University events, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the superstar space. I look forward to meeting you there at NadiyaShahSuperstars.com. Link is in the description below. Synchronicity University has incredible events happening now and coming up very soon as part of a jam-packed and incredible spring at synchronicityuniversity.com. Boy, is this ever exciting. I want to start with the one and only Michael LUTIN, one of the few living legends in astrology today. Michael LUTIN is coming to Synchronicity University as part of a 5-week course that he is going to teach, and we've got just 2 weeks left to choose your tuition rate as low as just $5 a class. Now, I have been telling my students, if there's one class you're going to take this year at Synchronicity University for as low as just $5 a class, I would make it Michael LUTIN. Personally, I have paid as a professional astrologer, I have paid upwards of $200 and $300 to take half-day or one-day workshops from him. Every time I have taken a workshop with him, I have left a better astrologer. That I can guarantee. And I'll tell you, Michael LUTIN really is a very shining star, an award-winning astrologer, and he has so much to teach you in this class. And every class you will come away feeling like you learned practical techniques that made you a better astrologer. And so I would invite you to look into not just Michael LUTIN, but look into this class as low as just $5 a class with Choose Your Tuition Rate for just 2 weeks left. The one and only Michael LUTIN, our living legend in astrology. And to me, he also represents the best of what Synchronicity University can be and is and has become. I'll tell you, I am so proud of Synchronicity University's Choose Your Tuition Rate. It really was with the start of the pandemic that I felt inspired to make quality astrology and some of the most brilliant astrologers alive today much more accessible to people than ever before. And with Choose Your Tuition Rate, I feel like I've done that and I've been doing that. And having Michael LUTIN, this caliber of astrologer, available to you at such a low rate, well, it just makes my Aquarian sun very, very happy and very, very proud. So I hope that you will join us. I hope that you'll not only to support the school, but also, of course, for yourself, so that you come away a better astrologer, so that you get to learn from the likes of one of our absolute living legends, the one and only Michael LUTIN at synchronicityuniversity.com. Link is in the description below. Synchronicity University Spring Series 2022, parts 1 and 2 is Classes with Me, and it is Choose Your Tuition Rate on now for a very limited time. And with Choose Your Tuition Rate, you pay as low as just $5 a class for classes with me taking place Saturdays in the spring. And I really hope that you will join us. Once we move through the spring with these classes, I will move on this summer to teach at Kepler College. And so classes will not return with me anyways, even though we'll have other incredible teachers at Synchronicity University. Classes with me won't be taking place again until the autumn. So I hope that you will join us. We've got incredible classes on offer, from looking at Black Moon Lilith in synastry, parent-child synastry, looking at the 12th house in astrology, more on the sun, and so much more. A jam-packed spring 2022 with me at synchronicityuniversity.com. Choose Your Tuition Rate is on now, as low as just $5 a class for classes that students asked for themselves. They said, Nadiya, this is what we want to learn. And I put together these programs based on student feedback. So I hope that you'll join me. It's always a lot of fun. It's always very insightful, and you learn a lot. And I think that's really when these webinars and these workshops really are at their very best. So join me, classes with me at synchronicityuniversity.com. Choose Your Tuition Rate on now for a limited time. Link is in the description below. The one and only Melissa CYNOVA is back at Synchronicity University. Boy, is this so very special, let me tell you. Melissa CYNOVA is the best-selling author of the Kitchen Table series. One of her outstanding books was Kitchen Table Tarot. She taught a 5-week class on that. And after her class, so many students reached out and said, bring Melissa back. We loved learning from her, and she has such a wonderful teaching style. And so I'm really happy that she's coming back and is going to teach another 5-week course on another one of her best-selling books called Kitchen Table Magic. And so this is an introduction to magic course, helping you to understand what magic is to you, how to create spells, and understanding the different symbolisms and correspondences, and so much more. Teaching magic as only the one and only Melissa CYNOVA can teach it. I absolutely love Melissa. She's such a brilliant teacher. She's back by popular demand, teaching a magic course now at Synchronicity University. So you can learn a lot more about her course at synchronicityuniversity.com. Choose your tuition rate is on now until the end of April. Link is in the description below. And Synchronicity University will continue to have outstanding classes taking place this month with the one and only Cameron Allen continuing his course on holistic understandings of medical astrology. And our speaker series continues as well. This week, we are going to be hosting the one and only Tara Al, co-author of Astrology by Moonlight, and she's going to be teaching on planet and moon phases. So I hope that you'll check that out as well. Again, link is in the description below, or visit synchronicityuniversity.com. Join me next Saturday, March 19th, with the International Academy of Astrology, and I'm going to be teaching a very special class on Pluto in Aquarius, presenting lots of new material that I haven't shared before. I think this is going to be very exciting, a lot of fun, and very insightful as well. We're going to be looking at this upcoming transit, but what is going to make this class stand out that much more is that I'm actually going to go through the signs and help you to understand what Pluto in Aquarius is likely to mean for you based on your rising sign or your sun sign. And so I hope that you'll visit and check that out. I'll be speaking as part of the Silver Jubilee event. You can sign up for just my talk, or you can sign up for an overall package to join all the talks as part of this very special event with the International Academy of Astrology. Link is in the description below. And a very special thank you to the sponsor of this week's video, trykeen.com/Nadiya. That is where you can try Keen for as low as just $1.99 for your very first 10 minutes. Keen is amazing. I tried them myself when they approached me for them to be my sponsor, and I loved my reading. You can choose what kind of consultant you want, what kind of advisor you want. Do you want a tarot reading? Do you want a psychic reading? Do you want a relationship expert? And from there, you can choose from a variety of different people, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Visit trykeen.com/Nadiya to get your first 10 minutes for just $1.99. And thank you. Thank you, everybody out there, for watching. Thank you for your trust. Thank you for all the love that you bring. Fingers crossed. I mean, I do think wherever you end up and wherever you go is where the universe wants you to be. I happen to believe that. But I'm planning to be in Peru on Wednesday. I think it's time to hit the road again, understand new spiritual things about myself like only I can when I travel. So yes, I'll be heading to Peru, and I'll be there for at least 2 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks. And so if you happen to be in Peru and you want a hug or a coffee or a consultation, reach out to me using the contact form on my website, nadiyashah.com. I would absolutely love that. But wherever I am next weekend, that's where I'll be recording the weekly video that I post here on YouTube. So be on the lookout for that. You'll know where I am. If you see this background next week, it means that the universe wanted me to stay in the cold, cold winter of Canada. But if not, then you'll know I'm somewhere else. And wherever I am, I will always share that journey with you. And so grateful to bring you along with me as well. And thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your spiritual journey with me. Truly so grateful for it. It'll be a great week. Enjoy. Welcome to the exciting rebirth of Superstar, featuring choose your membership rate as low as just $3 a month. At Superstar, you get expanded, exclusive videoscopes each and every week, unlimited access to special horoscopes, class passes for Synchronicity University, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the Superstar space. I look forward to meeting you there.